The city sun had barely risen when Elena, a young woman from the heart of Manhattan, sped down a dusty countryside road in her shiny red convertible. Her GPS had gone haywire, her phone had lost signal, and the elegant heels she wore were now caked with mud. She had been driving to a luxury spa resort for a weekend escape from her busy city life, but fate had other plans. As her car came to a stop near an open field, she spotted a man struggling with an old tractor, his hands blackened with grease, his brow dripping with sweat. Something about his determination pulled her attention away from her frustration. Elena stepped out, carefully avoiding puddles, and called out, "Hey, do you need help?" The man looked up, his piercing brown eyes meeting hers. "Unless you know how to fix an old engine, miss, I'd say it's best you don't ruin your shoes." His voice carried both humor and pride, but Elena wasn't one to back down easily. "I may not know much about engines," she replied with a smile, "but I can hand you tools." The farmer, whose name was Luke, gave her a long, curious look. City girls didn't usually stop to help strangers in the middle of nowhere. As the morning sun climbed higher, Elena stood beside him, handing over wrenches and wiping grease from his forehead with her silk scarf, which now bore oil stains. Their laughter began to fill the air as they struggled to get the tractor running again. Luke was surprised by her persistency as she didn't complain once, not even when her manicured nails got dirty. For Elena, something about this simple act of helping felt a broken bar freeing. It was the first time in years she wasn't rushing from meeting to meeting, not pretending, not proving anything, just being human. When the tractor finally roared back to life, Luke turned to her, smiling with quiet pride. "You did good," he said. "Guess city girls aren't all that helpless after all." Elena laughed, but her stomach growled audibly, and Luke chuckled. "Come on, I owe you lunch." He led her to a nearby farmhouse, where a warm breeze carried the scent of baked bread and fresh earth. Inside, the kitchen was humble but cozy, the kind of warmth money couldn't buy. An older woman, Luke Santa, served them homemade stew and sweet tea. Elena, who was used to five-star meals, couldn't believe how good it tasted. Over lunch, she learned more about Luke. He wasn't just a farmer, he was someone who'd inherited his family's land but chose to work the soil himself rather than sell it. "My father taught me that land isn't something you own, it's something you take care of," he said softly, his eyes reflecting both pride and loss. Elena listened, touched by his words. In her world, everything had a price. But here, in this small corner of the countryside, she was realizing that value wasn't always measured in money. Later that afternoon, as they walked through the golden fields, Luke pointed toward the horizon. "That's my favorite view," he said. "Every evening, I stand right here and thank God for what I've been given." Elena followed his gaze as the sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, the weeds swaying like waves in an endless sea. She felt something shift inside her. For the first time, she understood what peace meant. But the peace didn't last long. When her car battery died completely, she had no choice but to stay the night at Luke's farmhouse. They spent hours talking by the old fireplace about city lights and country stars, dreams, failures, and what truly mattered in life. Luke confessed how people often underestimated him because of his simple clothes and muddy boots. "They think farmers don't know business," he said, "but this land feeds hundreds of families. That's worth more than any stock market game." Elena looked at him in awe. The man who seemed like an ordinary farmer spoke with the quiet confidence of someone who truly owned his world. The next morning, Elena's driver finally arrived from the resort, ready to take her back to her comfort zone. As she said goodbye to Luke, something in her heart tugged painfully. "Thank you," she said softly, "for helping me see what really matters." Luke smiled and handed her a small paper bag that was filled with fresh apples from his orchard. "Anytime, city girl," he replied. Weeks passed, but Elena couldn't shake off the memory of that day, the laughter, the warmth, the sunset. On a whim, she decided to return to the countryside to thank Luke properly. But when she arrived, she saw something that stunned her. A group of businessmen were negotiating with him about the land. She overheard one of them say, "We'll offer double the market price, "Mr. Brooks, your land's perfect for our new resort." Elena froze. Mr. Brooks? Luke wasn't just a farmer, he was the landowner. The land those businessmen wanted to buy belonged entirely to him. When they left, Elena approached him, astonished. "You never told me you own all this." Luke shrugged, wiping his hands on his shirt. "Didn't think it mattered. People see the land, not the man. I like to keep it that way." His humility struck her deeper than any luxury ever could. She realized then that the richest people aren't always the ones with mansions, so they're the ones whose hearts are full. Elena looked around the vast fields, feeling tears sting her eyes. "You could sell this for millions," she whispered. Luke smiled. "And lose what's priceless? Number. Money can build walls. This land builds lives." At that moment, Elena understood something she never had before. All her life, she had chased wealth, power, and status, believing they would make her whole. But standing beside that farmer, the man who owned not just land, but peace, she realized that true richness came from gratitude, purpose, and love. As she drove back to the city, the bag of apples on the passenger seat beside her, she smiled through her tears. The world would go on chasing gold, but she had found something rare, a heart rich in simplicity. And deep down, she knew she'd return again, not as a lost city girl, but as someone who had finally found where she belonged. Would you like me to make 10 individual prompts, one for each paragraph, scene, so you can generate visuals or shorts for this story next?